Hello, everyone. Hello. Hi. A couple of months ago, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association announced that two comedians, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, at the top of their game, would host the Golden Globes, which are second in importance in terms of popular culture, only to the Academy Awards. Gasp, said the world. Two women. Can you even do that? I mean, most people thought it was a good idea, but there was a certain faction on the internet that went, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if that's a good idea. The Reuters news agency said that perhaps the two women would bring a gentler tone to the evening, gentler than, I'm assuming, Ricky Gervais, the acerbic British comic who'd hosted it before. And I thought, a gentler tone. Why would they do that? Why should they do that? The truth of the matter is that female comedy is a thorny issue. Anthropologists and sociologists and psychologists have been grappling with the issue for years. Surveys continue to show that male laughter is better received than female laughter, that female laughter is still taboo, and that historically and cross-culturally, women who laugh and women who make you laugh are considered sexually promiscuous or morally corrupt. Well, as a female comedian, obviously I have a bit of an issue with that, but there's no denying there's still some shame associated with comedy. Not too long ago, I was at a party and the hostess introduced me as a journalist, and I said, I'm actually a comedian. She went, no, you'll just say journalist for now. And I thought, well, let's think about that. Because comedy, well, it can be offensive, is honest and brave, and it can help you deal with life's issues right up until the very end. It was Oscar Wilde who lay on his deathbed and said, this wallpaper is dreadful, one of us has to go. And then died. I mean, the man's timing was impeccable. I'd like to talk to you today about laughter in general and the differences between male and female laughter specifically, and how it's a vital tool that you can use in your arsenal to take on the world. I'm going to give you a brief history of female comedy. It's not hard because it is very brief. We'll start with William Shakespeare, who had any number of wonderful, witty heroines, but they were all played by men. There was Jane Austen, there was Dorothy Parker, who said, martini, martini, the drink I love the most. 2, I'm under the table. 3, I'm under the host. She died alone, an alcoholic. There was Tallulah Bankhead, who said, if you have nothing nice to say, come sit next to me. Words that have governed my entire career. Movies and television opened up all sorts of opportunities for funny women. There was Mae West, who took the idea of the sexually promiscuous funny woman and made it work. Lucille Ball, Carol Burnett, Mary Tyler Moore, Roseanne Barr, and now Ellen DeGeneres, and Tina, and Amy, and Chelsea Handler, and Sarah Silverman, and Bridesmaids, and New Girl, and Whitney Cummings. Although I would suggest to you that, particularly with that last group of names, that there are just as many people who say they hate them. Maybe more so than they would say they hated a male comedian. We are still suspicious of female laughter, and as a society, we are still very reluctant to let women in on the joke. A few years ago, Vanity Fair magazine published an article by Christopher Hitchens with the provocative title, Why Women Are Not Funny. All right, well, Hitchens was a master polemicist who loved to stir things up. He wrote a scathing indictment of Mother Teresa to give you an idea of what he liked to do. And I'm going to sum up his argument in his own words. Male humor prefers the laugh to be at someone's expense and understands that life is quite possibly a joke to begin with, and often a joke in extremely poor taste, whereas women, bless their tender hearts, would prefer that life be fair and even sweet rather than the sordid mess it actually is. All right, this is deliberately provocative. He's poking at the subject with a stick. But he goes on to make some points that might be worth considering. He suggests that women's inability to be funny is rooted in our biologies. Because we get pregnant and we bear children and we raise them risking pain and sometimes death, we are too closely connected to have the arm's length detachment that you would need to be funny. Because women are aware of the fragility of life, we are the rank and file supporters of the world's religions. And because so many women in so many cultures are helpless and do not have the power that they wish to have, they turn to magic and to totems and to psychics and to astrology to find meaning, and that's not particularly funny. How many people here check their horoscopes on a regular basis? Show of hands? Okay, well, I'm a Sagittarian. We don't believe in astronomy or any of that kind of thing. These are provocative ideas, but the truth is a male-dominated society doesn't really have a lot of time for female humor. Men think that when women are laughing, they are laughing at their sexual prowess or lack thereof, or the size of their penis. Sometimes we are. Then there's the specter of the humorless feminist. The joke goes, how many feminists does it take to screw in a light bulb? And the answer is, of course, that's not funny. Hitchens makes the observation that female comedians are often hefty or dykey. These are his words, or both. That they're rarely pretty or sweet or kind. But that makes sense because comedy is rarely pretty or sweet or kind. It's nasty, it's messy, it's scatological, it's gross, things that we don't associate with the feminine. What Hitchens doesn't or won't acknowledge is that women have been laughing amongst themselves for time immemorial. Whether they're going down to get water at the well or working side by side in this knitting factory or in sewing circles, put 3 women together for 5 minutes and you're going to have laughter. However, female laughter is often dismissed as giggling or the more gender-specific tittering. Or how about the word hysterical? That comes from the Greek word hystera, which means uterus, and was originally used to define a highly disturbed emotional state a woman finds herself in as a result of sexual repression and or dissatisfaction. So think about that next time you're laughing hysterically at something. It's not entirely fair or accurate to blame men for the suppression of female laughter. Codes of womanly behavior are often dictated by women themselves. Chances are it was your mother who taught you to be ladylike. Ladies do not scream or shout or drink too much or eat too much or throw up or pee their pants or fall down. Well, they do, and that's Bridesmaids, which actually was very successful. But women in groups are very censorious, teenage girls especially. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. An entire film genre has been devoted to portraying teenage girls as nasty as a pit of vipers. I mean, Easy A, Mean Girls, Heathers, Carrie. Teenage boys, on the other hand, while they're not exempt from bullying, use humor to communicate. They tell jokes all the time, to strangers, to each other, to their coworkers. That's why they dominate stand-up comedy. A male comic will come out and he'll tell a few jokes, and you'll laugh or you won't. You'll like him or you won't. He doesn't care. He'll leave. A female stand-up will come out, and she'll want you to like her. And she'll get nervous, and she'll screw up the punchline, and then she'll clean the stage and leave. So it's quite a different experience. Maybe Hitchens is right in that women are slaves to their biologies. Our bodies and the way they betray us are a source of constant distress. But I suggest to you that they can also be a source of humor. So here's my story. In 2005, I was busy. I was married. I still am. I had 2 sons. I still do. They were 12 and 6 at the time. I was working full-time. I was studying. I was in graduate school. I was writing my thesis on women in humor, as it turns out, when suddenly I was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of breast cancer. I was not eating a plant-based diet at the time. I was given a very uncertain prognosis, and it was a very scary time for everybody involved. I underwent surgery, chemo and radiation, the slash, poison, and burn trifecta. And it was the biggest challenge of my life and of my family's life. So how did we cope? I could spend the rest of my allotted time telling you about my journey, but it really won't be much different than the 1 in 9 women who will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, or the many cancer victims and survivors that you have encountered and will inevitably encounter in your lives. But I will tell you that we decided to tell everybody. We brought everyone on board, and we thought we would set a tone that would help everyone get through this. So I'm going to read you an email that I sent out the day after I had surgery. A week has passed since we got the news, and the light at the end of the tunnel may not be an oncoming train. I had surgery on Thursday, and it was successful in that they didn't leave a clamp or a sponge inside of me. Actually, it went extremely well, and all visible traces of evil were eradicated. We now await the results of the pathology, which should be available in 2 weeks. With luck, this will reveal more about the nature of this mysterious cancer and whether it has spread. Diagnosis notwithstanding, I have a tentative date to start chemotherapy June 15th. Chemo will happen no matter what. Yes, I will lose my hair, probably by the end of the month. I will wear a cool wig, except for when I want to frighten the children. I might also stick pins in my fake breast, maybe fishing lures too when I'm up at the cottage. If cancer can't be fun, there's not much point in having it. From time to time, I will be tired, nasty, and short-tempered. In other words, nothing will change. This will be followed by radiation, reconstruction, revolution, reformation, and then the age of enlightenment. We don't know why this is happening, but thanks to you, it is not nearly as dark and as frightening as it was. In fact, there are many moments of grace and many more of laughter. Our friends are at the door. We're getting all sorts of gifts that my younger son, Ronan, would refer to as cancer presents. Look, Mom, another one. I will be back on the air tomorrow, business as usual until further notice. We will keep you posted and in the loop. We send you all lopsided and awkward hugs. Signed, Maureen, John, Aiden, and Ronan. I made a number of long-term decisions while I was going through chemotherapy. I got braces. I figured I'm bald, I have no eyebrows, I have no eyelashes, I have one breast, I'm clearly a work in progress. Maybe I'll use the time to do some basic maintenance. I was also so aware of walking around in what I felt was a disguise. I felt I was in someone else's body. I had this fake breast, which was huge. And in order to wear it, you had this sort of this infrastructure that made the other one look like a torpedo. And I would be walking downtown wearing this wig, which was long and blonde, because, why not? And I'd have this, this rack. And some guy would go by and, hit his horn, and I'd go, oh, if only you knew. It was really funny. The chemo was awful. The radiation wasn't great. But I got through it. We all got through it. It took several surgeries to approximate reconstruction. But here I am. 8 years have passed. I'm here with you, and my right breast is in a jar in the basement of Princess Margaret Hospital. The cancer with which I was diagnosed turned out to be not so rare, which is not good. But the good thing is they're doing a lot more research into it. It's called triple-negative cancer. And so, I've got that going for me. People ask me if I've changed. Not really. I'm still the same angst-ridden control freak that I ever was, but I did make some changes. I dropped out of my graduate program just prior to defending my thesis. I wanted to spend more time with my family, and I figured the PhD will be there eventually, but, the kids do move on, hopefully. I took up piano and golf, both with disastrous results. Got a couple of dogs. But I'll tell you, one gift from this was that I'm not afraid of getting older. All of a sudden, that seems like a privilege, considering the alternative. Sadly and ironically, Christopher Hitchens, the irascible writer whose article first had me thinking about women in humor, died last December of cancer, esophageal cancer, which effectively silenced him like no opponent ever could. And when I heard the news, I was strangely bereft, as if he had walked out on a conversation that we never really had. And although he doesn't believe in God, I'd like to think he's in heaven talking to Mother Teresa. Hello, Christopher. Later in her life, Tallulah Bankhead was asked, "Are you Tallulah Bankhead?" And she said, "I used to be." Funny to the bitter end. And women often get funnier or appreciate humor as they get older. The less we are constricted by expectations of appearance, the more we are able to share in the joke. I'm coming to terms with my body and the fact that it doesn't do exactly what I want it to do, and it may still have some tricks up its sleeve if a body could have a sleeve. I may not get older and wiser, I just might get older and wider, and so might you. But before that happens, I think we need to give each other a break as people and especially as women. I know we can be tremendously supportive of each other, but we're also incredibly judgmental. A recent survey showed that 70% of women would rather take their clothes off in front of men than women because women are so critical and men are just grateful. We have to loosen up our waistbands. We have to loosen up our attitudes. We have to be silly. Ladies, we have to stop being concerned with being ladylike and being more woman-like. You've heard this said. Men and women cannot be the same until a woman can walk down the street bald with a big swinging belly and think she is God's gift to creation, because men do it all the time. The best way to fight fear and helplessness is through laughter, and no one summed that up better than Lucille Ball, a beautiful woman who was not afraid to be silly. And that's what helped sustain her through her marriage and her long and brilliant career. Near the end of her life, she told an audience at the Kennedy Center where she was being honored, "I'm not funny. My writers were funny. My directors were funny. My situations were funny. But I am not funny. What I am is brave." And I think those are the same things. So, as a woman and a comedian, in all seriousness, I wish you courage, and I wish you love, and I wish you good health. But most of all, I wish you laughter. Thank you.